Hello,
Hello.
everyone, and welcome to Contest of Speed. This is the Tier 1 race of the Russian Grand Prix here in our third season of action. New voice tonight. I'm Perry the Dog 6. Hello, and everyone. Hope you are well. Joining us from on Twitch, of course, alongside hosting the stream, Mitch. Mitch, how you doing today?
I'm well.
Awesome, and we're getting set. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was just looking forward to this one. It looks like they've got a dry qualifying. We'll find out in the race what kind of weather they'll have for that one.
It should be an interesting qualifying session. Should be an interesting race altogether. A little bit of a smaller grid than I think a lot of the Tier 1 drivers who are here would have liked. But should still be a lot of action. We see come into Russia in the midst of a great points battle between Lego and Al Altakir, as both of those drivers out on track early for their outlap. Say Mitch, being a podium driver in Tier 2 last night, run us through what this Russia track is like.
When the sun is out, it's hot and slippery. That's one of the things I noticed. You can get away with not running a whole lot of wing, but it will make you slide your tires a lot, and on the soft tires, it will heat them up, and you will start to lose grip. So you got to find a great balance.
It is a very long race indeed in terms of
having issues with
pace, and it is a tough track to look at. You know, when you look at just consistency, it's a very easy track also to corner cut, and I'm not sure we'll have as many penalties in Tier 1 as Contest of Speed had. As entering now, starting their first flying lap, is Jake Ghost, who crosses the line first. Jake Ghost now on board the McLaren. As this first sector, Mitch, really one of the faster parts of this track, and personally to me, sectors 1 and 2, the best feeling and most flowing parts of the track.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's high speed, it's fast. You can cut the corners quite easily. I can count probably like the first, out of the first 4, 3 of them are easily cut. So, you know, you got to keep the track limits. You got to try to keep it tight, but you also, in order to go quick around here, you've got to make it as wide as possible.
And speaking of cutting the track, Jagos looked like he might have cut the track there in the middle of Sector 2, and yes, he has backed off quite a bit, I believe, heading down the backstretch. And Mitch, we won't see the fastest times here in the beginning of the session, but tell us one thing that you're looking forward to in this first opening run. Obviously, a lot of rubber to be laid down yet in this session.
These guys, I would expect them to be in the low 131s their first lapped out. I would imagine the pole time mid 130s, maybe a little higher than a 130, like a 30.6, 30.7. I know the Tier 2 Matrix yesterday did a 130.8. Now his pace is a little quicker than most of us in that tier, but I would expect these guys to be able to beat that. And Lego's first lap out, he does a 130 dead. Yeah, everybody here's Al 131.3, so yeah, they should be mid to low 130s, I would think, by the end of this session.
Yeah, a very quick lap from Lego. Again, I was riding on board of Al in his third sector. Seemed to be quite a bit slick. Maybe running a little bit lower of a downforce setup will make him tougher to pass at the end of the straights. But again, one thing about this setup in Russia, it can vary a bit. I know you experienced that racing for third place, where you had kind of a higher downforce setup, and certain aspects of the track you were faster, but racing somebody with lower downforce, it can be extremely difficult to pass someone running, say, like a 4 rear wing.
Yeah, I think definitely. I experienced that yesterday big time, and unfortunately, I think it cost me in the end. Ginger Ninja had a fantastic setup when it came to, he was just quick enough in the corners in the technical section of the track. but his straight line speed made it nearly impossible to pass him. So, you got to find that right balance. For me, it was a higher downforce. That's what I felt comfortable with, and it caused me to have some issues in the race, but you just got to find that balance.
As we're riding on board Konzo at the moment, and Konzo and Calzo, the Scottish brothers, on the moment in the Renault, doing their qualifying, doing a little bit of drafting down the backstretch. Take a peek in the chat. Twitch Cost Ricky, don't know who that is. Jokes aside, finishing second in Tier 2. He asked, only 11 people in the lobby. Yes, it is quite a small lobby. We had quite a few absences turned in, so we knew quite a few would be missing. We also had 4 drivers, as unofficially, not turning in an absence as far as I'm concerned. And some of them now picking up their third and fourth, will pick up their third and fourth absences. So that will be interesting. We might have some new names coming up in the future. So you never know. That is one of the unfortunate things about online gaming, is it's kind of always in a revolving door when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We do have... I know we do have one race ban coming to one of the racing points tonight, so we are missing one driver due to that. But other than that, we did have some absences, and again, you can't make up for the people that don't respond. So that'll be for a subject on a later date.
Yeah, for sure. That is one of the things, and if you go down and on their website, Contest of Speed, look at the reasonings behind some of that. We did have a qualifying ban to Jamie, but Jamie's not here, so he'll have to serve that when he is back with us. And then also JF Roche is serving his race ban after intentionally crashing out at Singapore. And so I know the stewards have been busy, Mitch being one of them. Have been busy. A lot of bickering and a lot of hard, tough decisions that had to be made, though.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting first week, but again, it's something that
yeah,
just something you don't want to really deal with, But I just keep it off stream from them.
As we take a look at Two Spell's lap, Two Spell in a close points battle, and looking today is a perfect opportunity for him and some other drivers, a great chance to score some points as he finishes his first flying lap. Now just on our screens, ticking under 10 minutes left to go in qualifying. I know that there's a glitch sometimes with that, so that might not be official. And I think that was an invalidated lap, so that might explain it, or maybe an out lap.
No, it was definitely an invalidated lap. We do have Raikkonen. He is on the medium tires. Let's see what he is pitting, so... Yeah, it's very, the lack of cars on track kind of makes the qualifying session a little less exciting than it normally is, but all in all, when it comes down to it, you'll have the two at the top, Lego and Altakir. Those two will be battling it out, as always.
And that should be fun to watch, as we've had some good racing in the midfield, and even for podium spots like yesterday in Tier 2 and also in Tier 3. But today, we have two front runners that right now there's a 3/10 difference, and I think it might be closer than that at the end of the race to see who comes away. Of course, Al has the win total advantage. He's got 7 wins this season to Lego's 6, but Lego, more consistent, has a 33-point lead as we begin the 16th round, also the 6th to last race of the year.
Yeah, Al had to take some absences early, or a couple weeks ago, and also I think he had 1 or 2 bad finishes, so that will come back to potentially haunt him at the end of the season. But now that it's just those two on track, probably battling it out for for P1 tonight, it should be a good one.
I believe you're looking now, riding on board Jay Ghost as he makes his way through the final third sector, and he looks to be pulling into the pits, so maybe an invalid lap. I'm gonna hop back off screen and look at Altakir's lap at the moment as he enters the third sector.
Oh, yep, here's Al. Just got on board. My thing's kind of being a little delayed with the taking it off of pit or out lap.
coming up to the second to last chicane on my screen, and now to the final turn 18 around the bend. And Al goes P1 for the moment at a 130.5.
Jeez.
What a fast lap. Lego comes across and must have invalidated because Ori does not improve.
Yeah, I don't think he improved, or he probably invalidated. It's so easy to invalidate here. I know I invalidated my flying lap last night, and it cost me probably 3 to 4 positions. Looking at how close it was from P6 to P9, I think it was a 10th difference between between the 4 of us in that group. So, it cost me in the end, but I got through that. But here, you're any little extension of the track, it's going to cost you some time, and it's also most likely going to cost you your lap.
We ride on board Fruitful now, who's sitting in P5, but he'll definitely improve. Should improve from a 132 set his first run. Here he comes now, cross the line. It does improve up to P4, and not too far off from Calzo in the 3rd spot. Ticking down now, just a couple of minutes away from our 3rd qualifying run. And right now, Mitch, again, no real surprises so far, but it is really shocking to show how far out in front that Al Altakir and Lego is really set 2 fantastic laps.
Yeah, and I noticed this yesterday, even in our race. The top guys, the Ferraris, they were above and beyond all of us. But even the guys that out-qualified me by quite a bit, I kind of realized, race pace-wise is when it really comes down to it. If you can, keep the pace up, sometimes that 1 lap time doesn't, translate to a good finish.
That's for sure, and Russia's a track where you can lose it all into the first turn. And I think that up in Tier 1, for the most part, you'd think that these guys would behave. Actually, it turns out that it's probably the hardest racing, and the most hard-nosed racing is in this top tier. So we'll see if there's any drama into Turn 1 here today.
Hopefully with a smaller grid, they should be able to kind of give each other a little bit of room, respect each other's space. I know if with them, it's just when you're as quick as they are, every position means something, because it's so much, it's so hard to cut into somebody that's might only be a 10th faster than you or 2/10 faster, and it's just like that the rest of the race. So they are, they do fight their positions very, very hard, but most of the time I would say it's pretty fairly.
I could say if we could hop on board Two-Spell right now as we watch Raikkonen go into the pits. Two-Spell, I believe he's on a fast lap as he just finishes up Sector 1, and couldn't quite tell from my screen. Looked like he turned in much too early there, I believe, into Turn 6, Turn 5, so we'll see. He's going to continue, though, so it must still be a quick one. He's running out of time, though, if he wants to get another lap off. Yeah,
I just jumped on board to kind of see if he's, backed off of it, but he seems like he's still going, as hard as he possibly can. So I guess we'll see if he invalidated or not. I wish the game kind of gave you an idea if they invalidated. He runs very deep into that corner.
That would be very nice, as he does into that second DRS straight. Really easy to do, missing the braking point. Of course, while you're braking at the end of that straight, you're turning left at the same time, a little kink. So that might have caught him out a little bit. A little squirrely as he exits a penultimate corner. Now that turn 18 across the line, and he's still down in P9, but sets a lap at 132.9. And it looks like he'll continue on.
Switch back over to Konzo, see if Konzo's backed out of his lap. He's not doing anything, so jump back to Two-Spell, see if he's gonna run another lap. I'm probably gonna guess probably not. You don't want to take too much life out of the tires, but at this point, he probably won't have enough time to jump into the pits, throw on another set of soft.
I think he'd go enter the pit lane at about 2:15, and then he'd have to put another tire on. So
yeah, and at that point,
you're gonna be difficult.
Yeah, you'd be pushing way too hard to even, and time-wise, you probably wouldn't be able to. So that's most likely our wizard friend's last flying lap of this qualifying session. I do see now a couple of the guys jumping out on track for their last flying lap. Altakir is in the third sector, getting ready to take on. Yeah, he's getting ready to take. Sorry, I was looking over at the stream, making sure everything was working. That's I'm not used to being the one that runs the stream, so.
That's exactly right. And it's a little bit different doing this, I will say, than the first time, especially online. Some chemistry issues, but I'm sure we'll get those out of the way.
I mean, you do this for a living, so if there's any issues, I'm just going to make you do it all.
That's all right by me as we ride on board of Altakir as he exits turn 2. Turn 1 or 2, really.
I call it turn 1, but...
It's basically turn 1. It's also called turn 2 because that little kink down the front straight. But a great run so far through the first sector for Altakir, who's trying to hunt down Lego in the point standing. And really, Mitch, I think of this race as being the last of the mid-season, and it is kind of the last European race before you go to Japan, and then you go to the Americas and start that final leg of the season. So really the beginning of the end of the season, if you will.
Yeah, well, we'll have 6 races after this one, or 5 races after the one. So this is definitely, this is the back half of the mid-season. If you, you're not in a spot that you want to be in the points, you're gonna have to start fighting. You're gonna have to start pushing a little bit harder, maybe even practicing a little bit more. But these guys, I'm sure they put in quality time. And I'm expecting some exciting racing, especially between Al and Lego as the season ends.
As we get to the final turn, it is Altakir improving to a 130.4.
So it's 4/10 faster than yesterday.
Quite a bit faster. We look on board, though, and there are several cars making their ways through the final turn. Several cars on a fast lap at the moment. We hop on board of Simply now, who's starting the backstretch. Open up the DRS and fly by 2 spell. Only the Lone Williams today.
Just watching his lines. He's not really sliding the car around too much, so keeping it tight, neat through that sector. And he must have invalidated somewhere.
So F1 Perez, I believe, yes, he was on track to try to get a flying lap in, was too late and missed the line. So I believe the last car that came out was Lego. He comes out at the very end of the session. And now Lego Minecraft will try and steal away top spot. We'll have to find 6/10, but again, that 131 flat that he set was his very first lap of the session.
Yeah, I'm just
on board with him now.
Just gonna jump right on board with him. Kind of. Oh, Raceboy has retired. He must have. If I was to assume, Raceboy probably lost it in that third sector. We did have some people having that issue when the car starts sliding around. You're trying to push it as hard as possible. There's sector 1 and 2.
Al getting out of the way. The end of that second sector. Now the third sector. Very easily to make a mistake here, but really slow in, fast out is the name of the game. We're now to turn 17s and turn 18 to 90-degree right-handers. As we go across the line, Lego must have invalidated because
130.2, but it was invalidated. I think Konzo is the last one on.
Yep, Konzo coming across. He's got to find 200ths, a little bit over 200ths to get by Calzo, and finds some, but doesn't find enough. Finds down 6 thousandths between P3 and P4. That's close.
The 2 Renaults are that team's on for a good constructors race. I mean, the constructors at this point it's led by the Racing Point team, but for the Renaults, it's kind of a bragging rights to have 2 cars. They're going to both be fighting for podium positions, but it's just kind of a bragging rights thing. Have both your cars up near the front of the grid.
So here we go now, the Russian Grand Prix. I'm going to run through some Crofty-esque Russia facts. Sochi, home of the 2014 Winter Olympics. It is in the largest country in the world based on landmass. They border 14 countries. No other country in the world does that. Also 9 time zones spanning across Russia. And it's also, interestingly enough, Mitch, from Sochi to Moscow, the capital, 1,600 kilometers. In comparison, Paris to Berlin is 1,000. So that really tells you how big Russia is.
All I know is Russia's massive. You pulled the numbers out of somewhere. I'm glad you did your homework.
Now we get set and ready to go for Tier 1.
And now we get to play the Who Presses X game. I'm pretty sure it's Tier 1. They're pretty good about not breaking the rule. I could be completely wrong. I probably just jinxed somebody. But we'll sit here and we'll watch some circles for the next... Well, I think it's 2 minutes. But it should be...
Let's hope so.
I'm really hoping for a great race. I'm expecting a great race from Altakir and Lego as they always seem to butt heads, and Simply is the first one that presses X. You know, those two always find them. It doesn't matter where they're at; they always find each other on track, and it always ends up being a great race between the two.
I was going to hopefully, if we had more time, I don't know. We still have time before the race starts. There is a
Formation lap.
A formation lap. Yes. Talk to the chat. I was going to ask for some predictions for this race, but it looks like they're already making predictions. Chris Logan already saying Russell to Mercedes next year, so they're making some F1 silly season predictions.
They must be playing the career mode in the game, where we've got Hamilton leaving his car for Red Bull and all that other weird stuff that you get in the new career mode.
Yeah, you can see it all there on career mode for sure. As now we start the formation lap, 27 long and grueling laps around the former Olympic Park in 2014. Al Altakir leading the way with Lego, points leader in the Racing Point P2. Then you've got the Scottish Renault duo, Calzo and Kanzo. Raceboy, who won the Russian Grand Prix last season on the last game, F1 2018. He won it in Tier 2, bumped his way up to Tier 1, starts 5th. Jay Ghost back in 6th. Fruitful will start 7th. F1 Perez on the Alfa Romeo P8. It's Simply P9. Two Spell back in P10, and Raikkonen is the lone person to throw on new tires, and he'll start on fresh mediums back in P11.
With this small of a grid, that strategy actually may play out way better than it does with a full grid. I know you and your teammate both tried it in your guys' race. It didn't work out to the best of the abilities. I mean, you still finished on the podium. Your teammate ended up having some issues. So, I mean, it could have been a little bit better for you guys, but with a full grid, that strategy, it makes it a lot harder. But with Raikkonen having a smaller grid and less traffic, it may make it a strategy that will work in this situation.
We'll just have to wait and see, as I think mathematically it should, with a smaller grid, work. But again, anything can happen, especially in Tier 1. As we've learned in the past many weeks, as we are now nearing the end of this season in Tier 1 and cannot wait to get started in the next season. But of course, here we go. The Russian Grand Prix.
All right, they should be taking the lights. Let's see, I'll jump on board here with Lego. Here we'll go on board with them for the start.
No lights yet. We've got the green lights flashing on the side. Maybe a little bit of a delay, a glitch.
Nope. Oh, I've got lights.
Nope, there we go. We've got lights. 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights. And they are out, and we are underway from Sochi. As it is a good start at the front from Altakir. As we head down, Lego bouncing into P2. Now he's looking for the inside. Al blocks him off. They make some contact. They head straight on into turn 1. And just like that, some fireworks to begin the race. Calzo will be out in front. I think that Lego got his wing knocked. He's dropping all the way back to P9. But boy, oh boy, it was anything but an easy start. Lego's missing a good end plate from his right side.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if it started off a little bit of desync or not enough space given, but Lego, or Altakir did pinch Lego all the way to the inside wall, and I'm just not sure. Obviously, he didn't leave him enough room to get through there, but unfortunately, with the way the game works, once you lock the tires, you guys are you're connected and you're along for the ride at that point.
Meanwhile, it is Calzo out in front by half a second on Raceboy, and Raceboy under pressure from Al Altakir somehow didn't take any damage from that. And as we look at it, Perez disconnects as he ran wide.
Trying to see if there's any damage to that Mercedes front wing, and looking at it, it looks fine to me. And we do know that the Racing Point is he has taken some damage. We do have some guys in the back. Yeah, there goes Lego. He is pitting.
Lego, yep.
This is definitely going to hurt Lego's, with these 33 points ahead of Altakir. So if he finishes outside the points, that's a 25. If Altakir finds his way back to the front, that could be a 25, 26 point swing.
That's a definite probability. Calzo leads the first lap, and when he start P3, P4, changing the front wing now on Lego, he puts on the hard tires, so he'll try to go the rest of the race and try to climb his way back and get as many points as he can. Perez is back after the disconnect, and he is, I will say that on my screen, Perez was lagging quite a bit on the start, and that could have caused some of the issues, as well as on the initial start, it looked like Lego was just going to settle behind Al, but a last-second dive and some contact there. I think it'll be interesting to see what both drivers saw on their perspectives as the stewards, I'm sure, will take a look at in the upcoming days.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. I did see that the Alpha was lagging, so and unfortunately, when there's a car lagging around you, it does breed issues for other drivers, even if their connections are strong.
You see Two-Spell get by Raikkonen there up to P8, and there is a bit of a Constantine effect.
Ooh, Konzo just took his front wing off.
I was going to say Konzo was right behind Jay Ghost as Al Altakir trying to rebound after that poor start. Let's see, he should have DRS, as he does have DRS on Calzo as we begin the third lap. Jump ahead to that, he will stay put behind the Renault out in P1. Konzo, though, under pressure, and now we'll have to deal with that broken front wing the rest of this lap. Getting passed simply up to P6.
Yeah, I'm just thinking with Konzo, depending, and I saw this out of yesterday's race with some of the guys. My teammate did take wing damage early on in the race, and he pitted for the hard tires. Now, he wasn't quick enough to make that hard tire, make any difference pitting so early. But there was a couple guys, Juventus, and I believe, there was one of the other drivers. But needless to say, they stayed out. Dealt with the damage until they were inside that window to throw the medium tire on, and they were still a lot quicker than somebody on that hard tire. Now, I'm not saying Lego won't be able to make it work, but it's going to be a struggle for for him to jump high into the standings, as Altakir takes Calzo is deep.
Takes P1, and Calzo did run deep. I almost think maybe he got squeezed a little bit on the exit by Al, who had the position, and now it'll be Calzo who will try to repay the favor. Now he should stay within DRS range, but I'm not sure how long he'll be able to stay in contact of Al, as first time penalty for, I presume, corner cutting. Raikkonen picks up 3 seconds.
Yeah, the penalty situation can be huge here. So I learned that yesterday just by following, I was in P4. I settled, just keep it close and don't take the penalties, and you can leapfrog some guys.
But Calzo does open the rear wing and head towards the diffuser of Altakir. Maybe a little peek into turn 5, but decides better of it. We'll just follow in the tracks of the Mercedes-powered Mercedes.
Yeah.
As they enter the second sector, really things starting to settle down a little bit throughout the field. A gap being created as Simply gets by Konzo and Simply up to P6. Konzo just a half-second back in P7. And Mitch, one thing that I noticed out on the track and what you'll see is really through the second sector, it's really easy to have that disturbance with dirty air when you're running right behind somebody, and it's really tough to get a good run down the backstretch to stay in contact with cars.
Yeah, that's one of the things. When setting up your car, I was having issues, the same thing, where it felt comfortable when I was running by myself. You throw another car in front of you, and the car doesn't turn anymore. Or if you don't have enough, you have not enough wing into it, you just lose the rear end of the car. So yeah, it's definitely, these guys had to find that balance to be able to follow in these, tight spots in Sector 2. Even the parts of Sector 3, I found myself, just backing off just a little bit, just so I had a little bit more room to breathe and not have that air, to mess my car up. And I think, Calzo's running, he can probably get super close to the back of El Takir. The problem is when we get to the second sector, the dirty air is going to push you away.
As Calzo now, that last straight, he didn't open DRS. On my screen, it said he was within 9/10, so maybe just at the time of the detection, as Al Altakir gets a 3-second time pen. A little bit surprising coming out of him. So he does have an extra 3 seconds to work with as Calzo picks it up the next corner. So they're on the same footing in terms of penalties. And Al Altakir begins to pull away. Meanwhile, Raceboy runs wide, just switched to him, he runs wide and takes off his right front tire and is out of the race. Didn't see it on your screen, but just as it happened, I happened to switch back to P3, and man, Raceboy was pushing, he was way wide and decided to try to keep it in the gas, and lost his front right, I believe coming out of turn 8, in the quick left-hander, and now we've got a VSC virtual safety car. Wow, so this, let's see if people try to make the hards work or take advantage of the pit stop.
Yeah, I'm just going down through, trying to see. Calzo and Altakir have decided not to pit. Frufel has not. I mean, it's super early, but
Konzo is going to.
Yeah, he's got that broken front wing.
Free pit stop. He does, so that does save him. As we get back to racing, Konzo does get a speeding penalty though.
Well, hopefully,
so
when it comes down to it,
his advantage. I will say I'm not sure what it does for Lego. I guess really because no one pitted it, it didn't really help him much. Takes away time for him to try to catch back up, but.
Yeah, he's just now coming across the start-finish line while Konzo is... So he will jump Konzo, and Lego will be able to go to the end of the race, but with Konzo being on that fresh medium tire, he should be able to catch up to Lego.
The only question for Konzo is to make those mediums last, or if he'll try to do a 2-stop and hop on softs at the end. Again, now with Raceboy out, as long as you finish the race, at this point, you will get some points at the end. So maybe that's something Konzo's thinking about, switching it up to a 2-stop, maybe going for fastest lap at the very end. We'll see.
Jump on board here. The closest battle is F1 Perez and Raikkonen. Unfortunately, F1 Perez's car is all over the place on my screen, so not quite sure if he's trying to make a move. It looks like he's trying to make a move down the outside.
Yeah, he is around the outside, and Raikkonen gives him a lot of space, but Perez locks up and bangs against the guardrail, and I think lost a bit chunk of front wing. Yeah, lost an end plate on his left side. Man, oh man, it is. It's been pretty sloppy, I'd say, so far. After the start, the contact between Lego and Al, we've had Raceboy, who won this race last year in a tier below, make a big mistakes, and now Perez is into the pits after knocking his front wing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what has bred the sloppy driving. maybe these guys didn't expect the turbulence that you get behind somebody. I'm presuming with the Raikkonen F1 Perez situation, it's hard to say because with Perez's connection doing what it's doing right now, he could have been somewhere completely different on Raikonen's screen.
So Perez will come out behind Konzo. Meanwhile, you look on track, it's quite a good points day. You look at some of the midfield guys, Fruitful still in P3, Jay Ghost in P4. Really anybody that stands out to you, Mitch, that should pick up quite a bit of points as they run now.
Yeah, Jay Ghost is in a good spot to pick up some really good points. Two Spell also, both McLarens in the top 6, so they'll be happy about that. I know Fruitful's in a good position, but I can guarantee Fruitful's thinking, I wish my teammate Thomas was here with me as well. But unfortunately, Thomas could not race tonight. He is feeling ill, so he has, taken the night off, which every once in a while you have to do so.
We look at chat, some discussion about Calzo doing an undercut. So he is now dropping back to over 3 seconds back now to Al. That would be, I think, kind of tough. I mean, I don't think the undercut has that big of a success.
Actually, the undercut here can be very strong, depending on what your pace is looking like. I do know that some guys have picked up 2 to 3 seconds by using the undercut, but he should have pitted on that lap. Pit on lap 8, get the undercut, and hope for Al to go to lap 10 or 11. And he, with his pace, should have. He probably would jump out to Kira at that point.
You know more than me then. My strategy was completely different, so I didn't really experience the undercut at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Red Bull Tier 3 guy got it wrong. They got it wrong doing the medium to soft strategy, but you guys made it a very interesting race.
Made it very sweaty for us. Yes, not a tremendous amount of action.
Yeah, I'm just the closest battle we've got. Simply, he is gaining on Jay Ghost, but ever so slightly.
And he's about 1.5 seconds back from Jay Ghost. He's in a McLaren sandwich right now. And you look at Lego, I mean, he's starting to pick up some time to Raikkonen in P7. 15 seconds behind him. But again, Raikkonen will go long, and that he will start it on the mediums.
Yeah, so Lego will, he'll jump him. Raikkonen, once Raikkonen does pit, but Raikkonen will throw on those fresh softs, and he'll be light years faster than what Lego is on beat up old hards.
Looks like we're turning into a pretty realistic Russian Grand Prix. Of course, well more fireworks at the beginning of this race than at least as far as I can remember in the actual Russian Grand Prix, save 2016, the Russian torpedo Kvyat and Vettel incident. But other than that, things are settling right down.
Yeah, I think the closest gap, like I said, was simply he's now lost another second to Jay Ghost, so I mean, that's the closest battle that we do have on track. Now, it will be interesting when these guys on the soft tires do have to pit. You got the guys at the back end that have either already pitted or, are playing the long game, like Raikkonen. Lego, he won't be pitting again unless he, decides to change up the strategy or something. But other than that, until that happens, we're not really having a whole lot of action on track.
And really, this is the point, at least for the top 6, this is the point where the softs start to fall off, and you've got to decide to either come in and start the undercut or stay out and...
If I was Calzo, I would pit this lap, and he is...
And staying out.
Yeah, he's staying out another extra lap.
Staying out another lap. Fruitful will stay out as well. So they must think that they've still got either A, some life in them softs, or B, don't think that they can make it to the end on the mediums yet. Jay Ghost stays out as well. So nobody pitting yet, I guess. I believe, I'm not sure about Tier 2, but I believe the window opens right about a lap 9 or 10, so it could be this lap we'll see quite a few cars come in.
Yeah, I think the earliest you can really pit on that, to put on that medium tire is about lap 8. Really, that's about any time that you can pit after that. But, you know, if you really want to pick up an undercut, you could have, you know, pit now. You know, you try to close in on the guy ahead of you. Try to start getting some type of a draft off that, you know, the car ahead of you. So, you know, unfortunately, what's probably going to end up happening is all these guys are going to pit the same exact lap, and they're going to find themselves all in the, you know, the same spot that they're in. Get time gaps will change a bit, but, you know, you're not going to make any time up by not, you know, doing what everybody else ahead of you is doing.
It will be interesting to see where Kanzo comes out in all of this. He does have an extra 5 seconds for pit road speeding, but he did undercut to these mediums that he'll really have to be careful with. But at the same time, it could work, and he might get a decent amount of track position. As see that his teammate Calzo coming in. So there's our first out of the people who have not made a mistake or decided to go on some sort of other strategy. So
we do
Calzo
have
will be on the mediums, Fruitful.
Jay Ghost is pitted as well. And yeah, see all these guys, they follow themselves in. And now Altakir, Calzo did decide to do his own thing, where Altakir has playing a little bit of a long game. This should help Calzo. He should close up a bit.
I see simply get ahead of Jay Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, just for a moment though. I thought the Williams had already pulled in. He had not, so. Meanwhile, Two-Spell, of course, had to stay out because his teammate Jay Ghost came in, so he will be along with Al Altakir on a little bit longer for the softs.
See, Altakir is now just going down the backstretch. So I'm just going to kind of keep an eye out, just time gap-wise, how much time Calzo is able to, pick up on Altakir. Now, penalties playing a hand. I think they're both sitting on the same amount, so, at this point, Calzo needs to be pushing as hard as he possibly can if he wants to close that gap to Altakir.
As Al Altakir looks like he's coming into the pits, he enters the pits and will slow the car down.
It looks like Raikkonen has actually... I just jumped on board with him, caught the back end of him. He was letting Fruitful through, and he has taken damage, so I'm assuming he must have lost the back end of that car, or something had happened between those two for him to lose some of that end plate on that front wing. So he does need a wing change. It's unfortunate for him in that situation.
He doesn't have either end plate, I believe, so that car's got to be awfully treacherous, is able to keep it on the track and stays out. So... interesting. Raikkonen stays out. Maybe I think there wouldn't be a glitch that bad as Two-Spell comes in. Al is going to exit and retain his lead.
He extended his lead by almost a second and a half. So Al was either just taking it easy on those soft tires, and when his in lap, he just went as hard as he possibly could. Calzo could have had potentially a terrible out lap, but yeah, he has lost a bit of time to that Mercedes ahead of him. Fruitful, he's closed the gap just slightly to Calzo, but it's still a 5 second gap. I jump on board with Kanzo, who is now right on the back of Jay Ghost and simply is clinging onto the back of Kanzo. So looks like we have a good battle potentially brewing here for P6.
So Kanzo, of course, on the 5-lap older mediums, and I don't know what you see on your screen. I see Jay Ghost on my screen's on softs, but on the pull down list that he's definitely on mediums. So
yeah, he's on mediums.
If the stream sees that, he's actually on the yellow-walled mediums and not the red-walled softs. And yeah, so that explains where Kanzo comes out. He's also got simply trying to hunt him down in the background. It is interesting to see, too, Lego comes out P5, but my question is, will Lego be able to reel in any of the top 3 on those hard tires?
Well, he was, before Raikkonen even took damage, he was cutting into that Raikkonen's gap quite quickly. I think the real question is he going to be able to hold these guys off on the the fresh mediums at this point? Raikkonen, he's taking damage. He's going to need to take a wing change. He is playing the long game, but
as we take a look at Simply peaking and does not get there. Does not came close, but just still too far away from Kanzo in a straight line.
This is a terrible camera angle.
Yeah, it's not the best. As Perez is stalking two-spell at the moment as well.
Yeah, let's see if the Alpha can get by the McLaren. You can really tell the difference though of somebody that's got that quick straight line speed. It looks like Simply had really been able to get onto the back end of Kanzo down the straight, but is it the closing speed? Is he running a higher downforce? Is he, kind of the issue I ran into yesterday was that same thing where you're running too much wing and you can't get by the car ahead of you if they have even just one click down on the rear wing or front wing. It made it extremely hard to pass somebody.
Yeah, definitely a lot of dirty air around this track. Up front, Lego gets by the front wing stricken Raikkonen for P4. However, Al Altic here going even faster now sets a new fastest lap. I believe that's at a 135.2. So he is starting especially to run away with it. One thing to keep in the back of our minds, and again, that'll be up to the steward's decision at the end of this week, is that incident on lap 1 if there will be any penalties to keep in mind for the rest of the race. But again, can't really think too much about that now, as you've just got to go out, put your nose down, and run as hard as you can. And I can say that's definitely what both Al and Lego are doing at the moment. Yeah,
it's an unfortunate thing that happens. Racing incidents do happen. But you got to put your best foot forward. You got to shake it off. At that point, it's lap 1, and you've got a long race. Anything can happen. You've got a smaller grid tonight, so it makes it a little bit easier than it normally would with traffic. So, Lego's done the best he probably could in this situation. He's still sitting just outside of a podium spot on that hard tire, and he's got he's got 4 seconds to the closest car behind him. With his type of pace, he may be able to pull off, a solid P4 after a terrible incident first thing on lap 1.
Raikkonen, knowing he's got damaged, gets out of the way of these guys. Fair play to him. Lets Jay Ghost, Kanzo, and Simply through. They're in their little DRS train at the moment. Kanzo catching Jay Ghost, but then Simply catching Kanzo. So there should be a great battle for 5th place coming up.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I've watched just the last couple laps, and Simply is definitely in the same boat that I was last week, because Kanzo didn't even have DRS last lap and was still able to defend him off on this long straight. So yeah, Kanzo's running a lower wing. From everything I could tell, Simply's just going to have to play the ride it out game. Wait until Kanzo either makes a mistake or you get a better run off that final corner, but it makes it extremely hard to get by somebody here if you can't get it done on a straight, because there's really not anywhere you can overtake in the corners unless the car in front of you makes a mistake, as F1 Perez has disconnected from the session again. So
he's up to 2 strikes right there, I guess. Kanzo does catch Jay Ghost, especially in the first sector, and that's one thing you pointed out. Lower wing will do that. Also makes it a lot easier to corner cut, but I think Simply's picked up quite a few couple added seconds on as well for cutting some corners. So I don't think, unlike you, where I think you knew you had a little bit of advantage knowing that there would be some penalties coming at the end, I think Simply's still got to be able to find a way to get by Kanzo.
Yeah, he's in a terrible spot when it comes to the penalty situation. Luckily for me, like you said, I didn't have to worry about that. I had the one warning. The car ahead of me had, at that point, 6 to 9 seconds worth of quarter cutting penalties. I didn't have to push it. I just kind of hung out in his in his draft and tried to catch Ricky in P2 at the end of the race, but in Simply's situation, he's gonna have to find a way around this Renault. And luckily for Kanzo, he does have Jay Ghost in front of him, so he's also getting a tow. Let's see if Kanzo is able to make a move going down here into turn, I'm going to call it 1B.
It is worth mentioning, I just kind of remembered looking back through the penalties, is that they simply does have a little bit of an advantage. Kanzo did have that 5-second speeding penalty, so I believe simply does have a 2-second window there. As said that Perez set a fastest lap in a ghosted car.
AI must be on like 110.
Yeah, not sure what that's about. Might be just a glitch, so we'll look back at that in the investigation.
Yeah, that's very interesting, unless the AI is set very high. Not quite sure, as simply as now, he's the closest, this is the closest he's ever been.
Within 0.3 of a second going to the backstretch. Of course, the only problem too is that Kanzo gets DRS from Jay Ghost, so advantage is essentially gone besides the draft.
Yeah, at that point you're just kind of just being towed around at that point with the car ahead of you having, you know, a partner to draft off of going down the straights. That's one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed the same thing in the new game. A lot of these tracks it's very draft dependent. It's I don't know. Last year it didn't seem to be as strong. The DRS and the draft in this year's game seem to be twice as strong as what they used to be. As Raikkonen is finally pitted.
The Raikkonen will get a new front wing. The only problem is he's really low on time to run down the rest of the group. He's only got 10 laps to do so, and I don't know if that's enough time given that he is changing his front wing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Raikkonen. He was on for a good result until he took that damage, so you know, he might be able to fight his way, but I mean, he's going to be able to gain probably at least another position. But any higher than 9, I would definitely be shocked.
One thing to, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say F1 has disconnected, so he will definitely pick up P9.
So, Al-Takir pulling away a 9-second gap now to Calzo. Of course, if this would be the way that these guys would finish, and if that is the way they would finish, and it would stand, of course, in the points, Al-Takir, I believe, would pick up 26, given that he has the fastest lap, not counting Perez's ghost car, and Lego back in P4. He would pick up 14 points on that deficit, which would bring it down to just 19 separating Lego and Al in the last 5 races.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still way better than where, you know, you look at what it could have been for Lego. You know, a full grid, there's a good chance, you know, he's sitting way outside the top 10 at this point, or just inside of it. So the smaller grid has helped him out here, but he's also drove pretty brilliantly to get back up to P4. He's, you know, took his licks, but he's, you know, gained those points back, so it's not a total loss for him this race.
He still might be able to catch up to Fruitful. He's keeping kind of his own pace, maybe getting a 10th here or there on Fruitful, but as the race goes on, his hards are going to be just as dead as the mediums. Yeah,
I mean, I would assume the hards here, and yeah, just looking at the time now, either Fruitful just made a mistake, but yeah, Lego's... I didn't use the hard tire here, but I would assume it's just like any other track. The hard tire just... It's steady. It's not the quickest tire, but it just doesn't die, where everything else kind of, you know, the softer compounds, they do wear out. And these guys here back in 7th and 6th, they're just following each other around. They can't seem... Jake Ghost must be running some really low wings to be able to keep both of those guys behind him.
I think part of it, too, is that Kanzo has that lower downforce plus 5 lap boulder mediums, and he just cannot find a way to make the pass, although he's quite a bit quicker down the straights. And you'll notice that when they open the wing, like right now, he'll actually start pulling away from Simply when they both have DRS open.
Yeah, he's just not able at this point because he's got that older tire. He's not able to get the drive off the corners like Jay Ghost, but
he's having a peak. He's having a peak. He was as close as he could be going into turn 4 last lap, and this time maybe a little bit closer. Not quite able to do it though. Still peaking his way into turn 5 at the end of the first sector, but still has to stay put behind Jay Ghost.
Yeah, it's just like it's a Jay Ghost train right now. You got a Renault and a Williams just trying to hang out. They want by, and it's a very desperate feeling when you know you're just all running the exact same pace. There's just nothing you can do to get by the car in front of you. About the only thing you can do is make a mistake, and I'm sure at this point, you know, especially that Williams, he's probably running hot. He's probably going to want to dip. You know, you'll see him poke his nose out of the line just to get some air to the engine and cool the car down, because the car's, you know, the engine just it overheats so easily now. So, you know, that also, a lack of power may, you know, start becoming a problem for these guys that are following Jay Ghost around.
So Al Altakir, meanwhile, out in front now. 10 seconds is the gap he has built up between him and Calzo. As down the front stretch they go into turn 1B, as Mitch has now called it. Conzo still not close enough.
Oh, Conzo has picked up another 3 seconds.
Yeah, from a little bit naughty around the turn. Now he'll have the inside, though. They're side by side. Jay Ghost tries to defend the inside, but Conzo, with a bit of help from not really taking the corner all the way, gets ahead to P5. However, he does have another 3 seconds to deal with, on top of the fact that he's got a 5-second pit road speeding penalty. So he'll have quite a lot of time to try to push and make up in the next 8 laps.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with him being on a tire that's 5 laps older than the guys around him, the chances of him being able to break any type of a massive window, it's going to be really hard for him at this point.
Now can simply get by Jay Ghost. He's not really catching him with the DRS open. Of course, Jay Ghost still in DRS range of Conzo. Simply goes pretty deep into the right-hander, but able to keep off the back of Jay Ghost.
And
Fruitful picks up, I believe that's his first.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive that's his first one, and I see Lego has lost about 1.4 seconds off of Fruitful, so he's either made a mistake, or, as I'm checking the chat, my teammate says that his tires, once he hit 45% on the wear, they just fell off the cliff. So I wonder, I'm sure with 19-lap-old hards, Lego's tires are finally starting to die.
Jay Ghost go down the inside. What a move for Jay Ghost. He's going to keep it on the track and retake P5 for the moment, but Conzo will battle around. He'll have the inside heading into turn 4 on the outside, and now he'll just tuck in behind Jay Ghost. So Jay Ghost retaking 5th place, and it looks like, Mitch, will have a feisty battle through P5, P6, and P7 for the rest of this race.
Yeah, if there's a person here that really wants to get a move on, it's probably Simply. But at this point, maybe you just wait for one of these guys in front of you. If they're being aggressive, you know, well, as now they're all just picking up time penalties. But, you know, for one of them to make a mistake to try to pick up one of these positions, or you just, you know, maybe just wait it, just hang out behind them. They're battling each other hard, as Simply now is going to send it down the inside. And he makes the move.
And he gets it done. So I think Conzo maybe running out of ERS, you know, running out of boost to try to keep them from behind. That or his mediums have hit a cliff.
Yeah, they definitely probably hit a cliff, because looking at this, it says he's got a pretty good amount of ERS. His tires, unfortunately, have probably started to fall off a cliff here. But now can Simply catch back up, because now Conzo's going to have the DRS. Simply will not. Will Simply be able to close back up to that McLaren. That'll be I thought Conzo was going to send it down his inside, but he did not. He pulls back into line, and he's going to follow the Williams around.
It is worth noticing, too, we had Raikkonen, who started in the catbird seat at P11, the only person starting on the fresh tire, and he's decided to start on mediums. He did lose a lot of time in that stint, missing quite a bit of front wing, but even still with the softs, he has not been able to catch up much. He's still 23 seconds behind Two-Spell.
Yeah, that front wing damage pretty much, ruined his race, and that's that is something that you risk. Going on that harder compound, you knock your wing way before you need to pit. It then kind of it ruins your strategy at that point. Where if you knock your front wing with a soft tire, you can depending on when it happens, you can throw on the hard tire, you can throw on the medium tire and go the distance and not have that issue. But that's the risk you run. Trying a different strategy than the rest of the field.
I think simply starting to make some inroads on J Ghost now for P5, 7/10 back, and we'll see. I think Simply should make up a little bit more time in this third sector, but right now seems to stay about the same. J Ghost and Simply about the same pace, but Simply will have DRS now as they head down the front stretch. Meanwhile, it feels like this race has flown by, and that's because P1 is continuing to set the pace that the rest of Tier 1 can't match, as he's now pulled out a 11.9 second gap to Calzo.
Yeah, it's been other than the turn 1 incident, Altakir's race has been, pretty, once he got his car back to the front, pretty uneventful. Kind of like with Matrix yesterday. Matrix, turn 1, him and his teammate had a little bit of a battle going to turn 1. Nothing crazy, as they're both, trying to wrap up the constructors before they start going, for a championship. With that championship being separated by 1 point, you expect them to kind of battle it out. But yesterday, Matrix, once he got the clear air, he pulled away, and he's doing the exact same thing Altakir has done here tonight. He has absolutely dominated this race once he got to the front.
So Simply closing in. Can he get by J Ghost here? He'll try the outside, maybe square off the corner and try to switch back into Sector 3. It looks like what he's trying to do. Unable to get a good enough run. He'll have to stay behind J Ghost, though, in P5. Although he's right on the diffuser of the McLaren.
Yeah, if I was Simply here, you just want to stay as close as possible. Don't put yourself in a spot to lock up and run in the back of the car, or lock up. You want a good run. Especially out of this corner here. This corner here will make up all the time, and I think Simply definitely got a better run out of that that final corner. He should be able to make a move down here into turn 2, the real number.
He'll try the outside. It's going to be, he'll get himself a better run, but he will compromise his exit a little bit. J Ghost again compromised his exit, but Simply still not there, still right behind him. Heading through this long left-hander turn 3, now into the 90-degree right-hand turn 4. And again, Simply does seem to get better exits through the 90-degree corners, but J Ghost just too much.
Yeah, like I said, from everything I can tell, you can definitely tell he's running at least a higher rear wing. That's helping him in the braking zone and the traction zones.
As they work with 4 laps to go. Of course, Konzo still holding his own back there, of course benefiting from this battle in DRS. So Simply now has a great run. He'll have the outside headed into the end of the back straight, and he has the pass done before they get there. So well done for Simply. Had to be pretty patient with it, giving his setup, but now has P5.
Now he's going to...
He will have... Yeah, we'll have some Renault-powered McLaren, and then a Renault, though, down the front stretch. He'll have to hopefully have some ERS left.
Oh, J Ghost runs real wide out of that final corner, so Konzo now is going to be all over the back of J Ghost. J Ghost is still going to get the DRS, and Simply is going to go defensive here into turn 1. Terrible camera angle.
He goes defensive, but J Ghost finds his way in on the inside. They both kind of run wide. J Ghost runs Simply wide, and I think he's going to stay around the outside. It'll turn into the inside in turn 4. Side by side they go, and simply has to concede, although I will say Jay Ghost ran simply pretty much off the track at the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, it's an easy it's an easy corner for that kind of to happen, going side by side. It's not an easy corner to go side by side with somebody and make enough room for the car by you.
And one of the downsides of that is simply picks up a 3-second penalty. Is that I'm sure simply got a warning for running wide there, but he had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, it's an in. If it's something that he deems it shouldn't have happened, he can always send it in. Have that looked at. So, that'll be something for again a later date. But we'll just go. We're going to take it as it is on track for now. He unfortunately did pick up another time penalty.
Meanwhile, Lego staying, actually pulling away from Jay Ghost because of the battling and staying about 8 seconds behind Fruitful. So it looks like the top 4 should pretty much work out to where they are now, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Raikkonen just pitted for another pair of fresh softs, so I'm wondering if Raikkonen might try to grab fastest lap out of the jaws of P9.
Yeah, I mean, for him, it'll help him. He'll get that easy bonus point at this point in the race.
He's still got a battle as Al Altakir now down the backstretch. He'll be starting his final lap in a few moments' time.
Yeah,
definitely Konzo with a little peek there.
Yeah, Konzo, I think at this point, he probably knows that the guys in front of him, he at least knows for a fact that Williams has got quite a few penalties. I'm not quite sure what the penalty situation is for that Renault, but he may even be able to jump these guys both in front of him. He just keeps it close.
So Al starting his final lap, a 14-second lead. Of course, jumping back to this battle, we'll probably stay on this until Al crosses the line. Simply now has a run on the backstretch. We've seen this before. He goes to the outside. Jay Ghost gives it to him and simply takes P5 once again.
Yeah, it's almost going to be who is in the right position going down that back straight on this final lap coming up. Unfortunately, Jay Ghost should probably overtake Simply here again, but he may even just tuck in, wait until he gets to that back stretch, try to get that overtake one last time, and at that point, you get into the Sector 3, it's nearly impossible unless the car in front of you makes a mistake to overtake. So we'll see what happens when they get to that back straight. And they've kind of fanned out here. They've kind of lost ground from each other. Jay Ghost is pulling back up to Simply down into turn 1.
He will look to the inside, late break, but he won't get it done. And Simply runs wide, but should be good. Now Konzo will try to go around the outside into turn 4. Has a lot of straight line speed. Konzo's right there as well. Side by side into turn 4. Simply the inside. Jay Ghost the outside. They stay side by side, and Jay Ghost goes around the outside.
Konzo goes for a dive on Simply. Oh, and they make contact, and Konzo has spun around. Yeah, looking at that, Konzo is just trying to make a late-breaking move.
He was trying to do, just saw it back. He's trying to do too much. As I'm going to jump ahead and watch Al Altakir cruise across the line. P1 with another win. Konzo making his way 14 seconds back. As Simply and Jay Ghost battle continues back there for P5.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick the only battle on track for most of the race, so just try to keep them.
And Simply is looks like he'll stay put behind him for now. Fruitful comes across P3. Lego coming down the final stretch, and we'll get P4 after what was an interesting first lap for him, and totally not what he wanted to do, but still grabs a solid points finish for the points leader. And after all the penalties, Jay Ghost and Simply had the same amount. So Jay Ghost does come home P5, Simply P6, Konzo for the moment P7, although Two-Spell was only, 6.7 seconds back, and I think he got Konzo.
He did.
Yep. So he got him to P7, so a great points finish for Two-Spell as well, up there in P7.
Yeah,
and Konzo with the pit road speed penalty and early pit stop put him behind the 8 ball, and then a late spin settles him back to P8. But
Yeah, looking at that late. I was just gonna say, looking at that. Sorry, I was just gonna say with that late lunge by Konzo is kind of what caused that issue for himself. He was just trying to make a move, and unfortunately, the late lunge that it caused himself to spin. But there's your podium finishers. We've got Altakir P1. Was it Calzo P2, and the Ferrari of Fruitful Coop in P3.
I like how I get XP for watching a race. That's solid.
Yeah, I will.
So.
Yeah, what's your take on that?
Get fastest lap. Raikkonen, I don't think he got it on the stream, but he should get fastest lap, as Perez's 131.8 was set with the ghost car after he disconnected. So Raikkonen did hop on those super softs and get 9th, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be something that will be discussed, because that's very interesting. That 131.8, that's pretty much a qualifying time. I'm not quite sure how a ghosted car did that.
But either way, definitely an interesting race. If you missed the beginning, it might not have seemed so, but a great midfield battle and another win for Altakir.
Yeah, let's see if I can get these guys in for some interviews. Bear with me, guys. I've just got to try to fruitful. Oh, it was Calzo, right? Was the I just got to see if I can get one more in here. There we go. Well, I'm not sure if Calzo is going to join, so I think we're just going to start without him, and if he jumps in, we'll go ahead and ask him a few questions.
All right, we'll start up. Fruitful, a solid P3 today. Tell us, I guess, what was your plans coming into Russia, strategy-wise, and I guess how did the race work out for you in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I didn't really get a good qualifying in, so I had to start from P7, I think. Then I saw Perez just ghosting through everyone and was a little shocked by that, and just overtook people by accident. And then I just had the most boring race ever in P3. I didn't have the pace to push up to Calzo, and behind me was Lego with like 20 laps old hearts. So yeah, I had the most boring race of my life, but didn't really have a strategy going in, just lost the medium, that's all.
Yeah, I guess you had an interesting start up from P7 to P3. I guess top from the start, and yeah, just what aspired in turn 1.
Yeah.
Got an audio drop there. I think he was trying to.
Yeah.
Perry, your audio dropped in that one. That's all right. I will.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
There you go. Did it say Calzo joined?
Yeah, Calzo's in here.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna ask Calzo pretty much the same question. Going into the race, was there anything special, or was it just pretty straightforward, softs to mediums, avoid the carnage, and carry on? Because really the top 3 in tonight's race, you guys were all by yourselves. The real battle was 6th, 7th, and 8th tonight. So, your guys' race had to have been pretty boring when it comes to, action. So how do you like keep yourself, intact when you guys are, just by yourself?
For me, I don't. I just drift off and I'll be in a party with my brother and I'll just ask him what's happening in this race. And I want to know every single thing that's happening in this race because mine was that bad. But it was just, on my part, it was just boring. I mean, the most exciting part of my race was turn 1 when I just saw like Lego and Alcatia. I don't know what happened with them, but they collided and then I took the lead. But I knew it was a matter of time before they caught me back up because I'm not quicker in Russia and I didn't do that much practice either.
Still, you got to be for a P2 result, considering your lack of practice then.
Alright, so I think the real question is now, with Al, finishing P1, great race. You pretty much dominated from the start. But I think the question that everybody's really asking is, what happened? I mean, from our point of view, it kind of looked like, a pinch to the inside, but, obviously your guys' views are going to be a little bit different than what we see. So, what's your interpretation on what happened going into turn 1?
I still don't know. It was a really weird one. I just close to the inside. I thought I had it covered. Lego went for a gap that, in my opinion, didn't exist. But still, I think I closed him a bit to the wall and we escalated. It was for sure not my intention at all. I never tried to squeeze people onto the wall. I thought the gap was covered, and I'm pretty sure he had to go with 2 wheels at least off track to get into the gap. And yeah, yes, we collided.
Yeah, I think I can say that's kind of what I saw there. He did go all over, he did have 2 tires over the white line, but again, like you said, it's not anything intentional. You thought he had it covered. It's just an unfortunate incident that has sometimes happens in racing.
Yeah.
I guess one quick question for Al. You caught up some in the points. You had a 33 point deficit to Lego coming in.
Before Singapore, I had a 56 point deficit. I think now it's down to 20 something.
Yeah, it's down. It's you cut it down, I believe.
Yeah, but this was not the way that I wanted
13.
to cut it down. I wanted to fight
cut
with
it down
Lego,
13. So
I wanted to fight with Lego through the race, and I think this first lap contact was a big shit.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, definitely. Just then to everybody on the podium, and look forward to the final 5 races of the season. Watching you guys.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. We're gonna give everybody the old good night. Just to make sure, next week Monday we have Tier 3 at 10 p.m. UK time. It's 5 p.m. for me in the States. So that will be our Tier 3, and then Tier 2 and Tier 1 Tuesday and Wednesday, same time, 10 p.m. UK time. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night. And don't forget to tip your waitresses.